Hey, it's Paris. You know, I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Hello and welcome to I Talk to Ghosts, the podcast that is always willing to go spooky spelunking with you. What does that even mean? I will let you know. All will be explained. I'm your haunted host, Jennifer, a professional medium and a teller of ghost stories. And as you may have guessed, tonight I will be sharing with you ghostly tales of haunted caves. My motivation with these stories is I wanted to combine something that is already creepy within itself. I personally can be a little claustrophobic. Let's go ahead and throw some ghosts into that mix. Yeah, I hope you enjoy these ghost stories as much as I do. After the spooky, stay for the spiritual. I have a new message from the spirits this evening. Join me at my seance table where I'll open up the space for a message for someone listening to the podcast. And since you are, this message could be for you. That's later on in the podcast. But first, grab a lantern. We're going into some haunted caves right now. I'm not exactly the outdoorsy type, but something in me said I needed to get away for a while, clear my head, reset. My friends promised a peaceful weekend in the mountains with campfires, stars, and the sound of a nearby creek lulling us to sleep. And for the most part, that's exactly what it was. Until the third night. After dinner, someone mentioned an old cave not far from our site. Of course, that got everyone curious. The locals apparently avoided it, said it's unstable, smart, or haunted. Classic campfire lore. So after a few trips to the campground's cooler and quite a few toasted marshmallows, it sounded like a good idea to go check it out. Just a quick peek, we told ourselves. The path wasn't far, just a short walk through the pines, and the moon was bright enough that we didn't need flashlights. When we got there, the mouth of the cave looked like it had been burned or blackened somehow. Maybe it was soot, but it was a strange, charred color around the mouth of the cave. Still, we ventured inside, joking and laughing, our voices echoing off the damp stone walls. The moon was bright enough that we didn't need to turn on our phone's flashlights quite yet. About 20 feet in, the air changed. It was colder. Still, our laughter stopped. Everyone seemed to feel it all at once, the shift, like we crossed some invisible line. My friends started heading back towards the entrance, but I paused. I don't know why, something just made me turn around. I turned back towards the deeper dark, just for a second, and that's when I saw her. At the very edge of the light, deeper in the cave, there was a figure, a woman, but she wasn't quite right. I could make out the shape of her standing unnaturally still. Her dress looked old and tattered. Her head was tilted slightly to one side, and I swear she was watching me. My breath caught in my throat. Every part of me screamed to run, but I was rooted. She didn't come closer, but something about her presence filled the whole space. The air was thick, oppressive, not angry, but not at peace either. And then, just like that, she was gone. I didn't see her move. She was just not there anymore. I stumbled out of the cave, heart pounding. My friends were already at the trail, talking like nothing had happened. I didn't say anything, not then. It felt too personal, like something meant just for me. That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of her wouldn't leave my mind. I kept thinking about the way she stood there, waiting and watching me. The next morning, one of my friends asked if we heard footsteps outside the tents last night. He said he thought it could have been a raccoon, but it sounded too human, too deliberate. We left that afternoon, and I've never been back. But sometimes, when the night is quiet and the air turns cold for no reason, I think about that cave, and I wonder if she's still standing there, waiting for someone else to turn around. I grew up in southern Arizona, the kind of place where the desert feels endless and the sun rules everything. My town was small, one of those places that boomed back when copper and silver were worth digging for, then slowly faded when the veins ran dry. The mountains around us were littered with old mine shafts, boarded up or forgotten. Most people gave them a wide berth. I didn't. From the time I was 10, I was obsessed with them. I used to ride my bike out into the hills with a flashlight, a canteen, and a backpack full of snacks. There was something magical about the silence of those old tunnels, like the earth itself was holding its breath. My mom hated when I went poking around in them, but I was careful. I only went into ones that felt safe. Wide openings, solid beams, good airflow. Mostly, I just sat inside the mouth, soaking up the cool, quiet air and imagining what it must have been like to work down there in the dark with only a lantern and the sound of pickaxes echoing off the stones. I kept at it through high school, even as my friends grew out of that phase. Eventually, I moved away. Life happened. But the desert never really left me. And when I came back home years later to settle my mom's estate, I found myself drawn to the hills again. One morning, I woke early and I packed a thermos of coffee and drove past the edge of town to a place I hadn't been in years. There was one shaft that I remembered vividly, deep in the ravine, half collapsed, but still open. I'd never gone more than a few feet inside when I was younger. It always felt off, which still to this day was snagging my imagination. I told myself I'd grown up. I could handle a little spookiness now. The air around the opening was cooler than I remembered. Not just shaded, cold. I stepped inside with my flashlight, and the temperature dropped instantly. The beam cut through the dark, showing old wooden supports warped with time, rusted metal scattered about, and a wall of crumbling rock. But there was a narrow passage still open, leading off to the right. I hesitated. Then I heard something, faint but clear. like metal tapping stone. My rational brain kicked in, probably water dripping or some animal scurrying about, but the sound was rhythmic, steady, deliberate. I turned off my flashlight. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to see if any natural light made it in that far. Or maybe some part of me didn't want to see what came next. In the darkness, the sound grew louder, closer, and then breathing. A heavy, ragged breath, the kind that doesn't belong to anything living. My hand fumbled to turn the flashlight back on, and when I did, the beam landed on a man. Or what was left of one. He stood at the end of the tunnel, his body twisted, clothes torn and blackened with soot. His face, oh my God, his face looked half melted, as if he had been trapped in some underground fire. One eye was missing, and the other stared straight at me. His body faded to transparency from the hips down. He stared at me, and I stared at him. He raised a hand, and my paralysis broke. I ran. I stumbled out of the tunnel, scraping my leg on a rock, and I didn't stop until I was back at my car, panting and shaking. I never went back to that mine. I don't even tell most people this story, because who would believe me? But I did some research after that, and I found a record from 1903, an explosion where 3 miners were never recovered. The newspaper said their bodies were probably buried deep in the rockfall. After that, I can honestly say, no more mines, no more cave exploration for me. I grew up in a house that backed up against a stretch of rocky woods. Not much more than hill country, really, but wild enough to feel like it was my own secret world. There was a narrow trail that snaked up through the pine trees and ferns, and at the very top, hidden behind a thick wall of brush, was a cave. It wasn't large, just a dark crevice in the hillside that a couple of people could fit into for shelter if needed. Small, but it was mine. I found it when I was about 10 and used to sneak up there with a flashlight and a peanut butter sandwich, pretending I was a brave explorer. It smelled like earth and old leaves, and I loved how quiet it was, like time forgot about that little pocket of the world. One time, during one of my afternoon adventures, just as the sun was dipping low, I spotted something odd wedged into the crack of the cave wall. I pulled it out. It was a small carved figurine, no taller than my palm. It looked like a person, or maybe something that was meant to be one. The face was rough, almost mask-like, with eyes that were too large and hollow. I found 2 more nearby, each one different, but all equally strange. Worn smooth by time, but clearly handmade. I took them home. I know, I shouldn't have, but I was a kid. I thought they were fascinating, and I wanted to keep them safe. I set them on my windowsill that night, and that's when things started. Around midnight, I woke up to a soft sound. Clicking. It took me a moment to realize it was coming from the figurines. They were knocking against each other, ever so slightly. I got up thinking maybe a breeze had come through the cracked window. I adjusted them and went back to sleep. But it happened again the next night, and the night after that. Then, the nightmares started. They were always the same. Me standing in the cave, unable to move, while something watched me from just beyond the light. I couldn't see its face, but I could feel its presence. Tall, silent, patient. One night I woke from the dream and I saw something even worse. There was a figure standing in the doorway of my bedroom. At first I thought it was my dad just checking in on me, but the shape was wrong. Too thin, too still. It didn't breathe. It didn't blink. It just stood there. I couldn't scream. I pulled the blanket over my head like a child, and eventually, I must have fallen asleep. In the morning, the figurines were on the floor, arranged in a neat little triangle together. That was it. I didn't care how much I liked them. I needed them gone. Of course, I didn't throw them away. I hiked back up to the hill that same day, clutching the carvings wrapped in my pillowcase. When I reached the cave, the air felt heavier than I remembered. I placed the figurines exactly where I found them. I whispered a quick apology, and I left. Nothing happened after that, but I wasn't sure if it had worked. But the tapping had stopped, and the nightmares faded. I never saw the figure in the doorway again. I've never gone back to that cave, but sometimes when I walk past the base of the hill, I swear I can hear a faint clicking.
Switch to Shiseido Benefiance Wrinkle Smoothing Eye Cream and discover why people are calling it the best eye cream. A powerhouse formula that targets 5 types of eye area wrinkles. 96% of users saw reduced wrinkles and diminished dark circles after just 7 days. Shop Shiseido Benefiance Wrinkle Smoothing Eye Cream at Sephora and discover how change can happen in the blink of an eye. Consumer tested by 110 women.
Hello and welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. I am here at my seance table. Thank you for joining me in the candlelight. I have a message from the spirits for you this evening. Tonight as I work, I have with me prehenite. This is a beautiful greenish stone, and it aids in spiritual communication through meditation and visualization. And it's a powerful dream stone. They say it helps connect your will to your heart, and your heart's vibration becomes the dominating influence in your life. So that is prehenite. So let's take a moment. I'll quiet my mind, open the space. Tonight I have with me, he is coming through as a very quiet man. I do believe he lived in his own thoughts, and perhaps later in life he developed some dementia or another ailment that made him become even more quiet. He is coming through with a lot of just silent energy. He's telling me, though, that in life he had to deal with a lot of conflict. Some of that was within his own family growing up, and that did cause him to be a little reclusive. And he just preferred to be a private person. He's using the word discreet and kind of kept to himself a little bit. A lot of people might have found that unapproachable, but he was very good-natured and very, very caring. And that was part of why he's explaining he became so quiet. He's showing me that he loved to read and had his special TV shows, and his dog kept him company. This feels like a father figure to me. He's saying he was much more comfortable to be at home with his dog than to be at any crowded function or event. And he liked simple things. His message for you tonight is he sees you so happy in your current relationship that it is just a riot in your heart. And he feels and he sees how amazingly happy you are. And he just wants you to be encouraged that this is the real thing and life is good and should be celebrated. He sees how generous you are. As a person, you're very, very giving, and that seems to be a very big theme in your life. And he loves that. And he sees how you take care of your mom too. He just wants all the best for you, and he sees what you have, and he's celebrating right there with you, even if he can't physically be there. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that. If this message connects for you, please reach out because I would love to know. And enjoy this time in your life. It feels amazing, and I'm so happy for you too about that. Thank you. And with that, dear listener, we've reached the end of this episode of I Talk to Ghosts. I hope you've enjoyed my spirit work this evening, as well as those tales of haunted caves. Did they give you the heebie-jeebies? I would love to know. And if you have your own paranormal experience involving a cave in the woods, I would love to hear it, and so would the other listeners. So please reach out. In the meantime, wherever you wander off to in this world or the next, just remember, come back and visit with me. Have a lovely evening and good night.
Welcome to Brew Crime, a true crime and beer podcast. Join me, Mike,
and me, JT,
as we explore the world of crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention. This is a podcast where we pick a theme, cover a few cases, and pair them with a brew.
Between themes, we do what we call Brew Crime News, a funny look at current news stories, be it crime, animals, sports, or even celebrities.
You can find us on all social media at Brew Crime. Our website is brewcrime.com, and you can find us on any podcast app at Brew Crime Podcast.
Join us as we discuss the horrible crimes that surround us, and maybe, definitely, tip a bottle or two back as you do it. Drink with us weekly.
Fear Daily is a podcast that takes you into the shadows of the past, unearthing the 1990s most terrifying tales of monsters, madness, and life after death. Discovered on a forgotten bulletin board server somewhere in Pennsylvania's Rust Belt, these stories are an archive of humanity's strangest encounters with the unknown, as told by the people who experience them. Written by Brennan Storr, creator of the Ghost Story Guys, and hosted by Brandon Scheck-Snyder of Southern Gothic, Fear Daily is your window into the dark corners of our world. Follow Fear Daily today on your favorite podcatcher to receive new episodes Monday through Friday each and every week.